So, we're live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Colleen Suchiu. I've never done this before, so bear with me. This is my very first time. I have been framing for about full-time for about 14, 15 years. I was trained by another, he was definitely a certified professional framer, and I was his assistant for years before that. And then he went on to bigger and better things, and I took over the whole framing department. The reason we got into framing was because of the lack of consistency. You just don't know what goes in behind your piece. And we got into it because Ron, my husband, is an artist, very well-known artist, and he was really picky about who was framing his pieces and what was going inside the frames. So we did go with, we're probably talking 30 years ago, that we went with somebody and found out later that some of the pieces he wasn't using archival, certain things like that. So that's what got us into framing. We're real fussy, real picky, but it doesn't mean we're expensive. We just like to do the right thing. And we've got a really good reputation, I'm really happy to say, because we've always done the right thing. We've been here for 30 years, everybody in the whole area knows us, and if there's a problem, you bring it in. I mean, we guarantee our work. So, let's get into, I'm not going to teach you how to frame, I'm going to educate you on framing. And if you know, if you like your piece, like say you've got a photo, what's the difference between framing it and framing a limited edition piece of artwork? We're not going to get into originals today, but that's the sort of thing I'm going to kind of say, this is what you should be aware of when you're framing. So we have a print. This is, we're going to print, this is a customer's, and we're going to frame this from front to back today. So I'm just going to, sorry, excuse me? Somebody's interrupted. Yeah. Anyway, I just got interrupted, the customer came in. Anyway, we're going to frame this from front to back today, so I'm going to show you. And as we go through it, I'll kind of tell you what you should be looking for in the pieces you already have that are framed, and if you were going in to frame something, kind of the questions you should be asking or you should know about. Okay, so when somebody brings in this their piece, the first thing I do is look at the colors and look at the mats. Everybody's got an idea. I'll usually ask what your style is, if you're contemporary, if your house is kind of traditional, if it's fancy, if it's modern, that sort of thing. Because you want to frame for you, but you also want to frame for the piece. And I always frame for the picture first. And I always think of, am I also going to like it in 10 years down the road? Because nobody, I mean, we do that now because styles change, but I try not to get you into something that's a fad or, you know, I want to frame for the piece, and let's just say it was something that looks like a Rembrandt. I would try and frame it like that for that era. Okay, so this piece, I look at it and kind of go, this customer was a bit on the modern side, kind of, you know, like up with today's standards. So I put, this is what I went with. I asked her what colors she liked, if she might, and she said she really likes colors. We have a thing of mats here. And this is what we ended up doing, was, I've got a, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a mat. It's got a bit of a sheen to it. It's kind of nice. Gives it a bit more of a modern feel. So this is what she liked. We ended up going. We tried some browns, we tried some reds, but she really likes the blue. So we brought out the blue in the background. This is our second mat. I hope you can see that.
Just come a little bit closer. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And I mean, when you put colors on these, I always kind of hold them up like this and take a look at them and see if the colors match. And these don't look like they do, but they do pull in some of these blue colors. And she didn't want something this vibrant. I can't say I blame her. So when you've got this much of a mat, it looks crazy, but then you're only going to show like 1/4 of an inch. So you just want an accent of color. It doesn't look too overpowering. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A little bit, yep.
Yep. Here, is it better on this side?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect.
Then I go with the frame. It's easier to do your colors of the mats first and then go with the frame. And I always play around with everything. If it doesn't hit you, then don't do it. Because that's what I find with somebody. When you're framing and I try different things and they'll go, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I like the back one. Those are good indications that it's not right for you, that you can't live with that. So then we picked out different frames. I went for something kind of modern that everybody does. I'm just going to pull a couple off the wall, this sort of deal. You know, like your basic blacks that a lot of young people especially go for. We ended up going with, let me find it. There it is. We ended up going with this, which is really kind of smart looking. What I liked about it, it's got kind of a gray blue in it. So picked it up. It's not a total black on black. And I'm putting this up this way, you'll see, because your norm on especially a print this size is always, this mat should be 3, this should be 1/4 of an inch. So you've always got about 3 1/4 inches when you frame. This is way too big, it's like 4 or something, but that's about what it'll look like. Can you see that okay?
Kind of. Bring it a little bit closer again, I think, if you can.
That's kind of what we went with. I'm gonna, if I hold that over there, can you kind of see the colors?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. There's a trick too, because it's hard to see what a whole piece is gonna look like when you're looking at a corner. One of the things I always said, sometimes people will go, that happens a lot, this happens a lot. When people say, that frame's too big, it's too overpowering, it's not because you're looking at this little tiny corner, and we can have a piece even this size and put a frame on it like that. It's not overpowering, because when you're looking at a little tiny corner like that, it looks overpowering, but by the time you get it on a piece this size, or even this size, it doesn't look too big. A lot of people seem to also have this misconception that if it's smaller, it's less expensive. And that's not always the case. I mean, you can have frames like this one that might come from Italy with your laminates, beautiful wood laminates. It could definitely be easier, more money than a wider frame. So it depends on how each frame is produced. That's how they go in value. So there's no rhyme or reason. So don't think because you're gonna pick a smaller frame, it's gonna be less expensive. And if budget is your key factor, then we play around with it till we get the right budget for you. But I always find, don't go cheap on the frame, especially if you're an artist, or it just doesn't do your piece justice. And one of the things that people always say also is, I don't want to overpower my picture. I don't want the frame to take away from the picture. You need to understand that a frame enhances your picture. It doesn't take away from your picture. It's no different, I kind of say, than say you wear a plain black sweater and then you put on this beautiful statement piece of a necklace, even if it's tiny or a minimalist, that enhances your outfit, just like a frame enhances the artwork. I just want to say too, before I forget, if anybody's got any questions at all, scream them out as we're going, because if we leave it till the end, you'll forget half of them, and we'll back up. So just, if you got a question in the middle of everything, just give me a holler, let me know, and I'll answer any questions. Okay, so my Don't go cheap. Don't go cheap, especially if you're an artist. You don't want to go cheap because then it cheapens the look of your work. And if you're proud of the work that you did, the artwork that you did, you spent a lot of time doing it. I know your budgets are tight. I mean, every artist has, it's a hard business. But don't do it because honestly, you'll sell your piece a whole lot better if it's framed nicely, properly. Okay, that's my rant on that. Okay, so this is how we're framing this, and I'll show you later. I've got that all cut, ready to go, and we'll kind of show you that. Now, I'm going to put this one aside. And we're just going to pull this out just to do another one. If somebody brought me in this, and we start, and because that one was kind of done, I knew what area I was going. There are so many different colors in this piece. You can do lots of different colors, and this is where you as the customer need to make up your mind. You've got to think, is my house got more grays? Has my house got more browns? That's sort of a thing, and because we can frame this, and I'll show you, we can frame this in beautiful browns, or we can go grays, and there's no right or wrong. When you're picking, always kind of pick, if you're going dark on the outside, go either darker on the inside or a little lighter. Like you want your contrast, your colors to be contrasted. This one, I would kind of go, I'm going to show you. Let's just pull out some browns for a minute. That's sort of what I do, is hold them up this way to sort of see what colors are in there. I mean, there's a nice rust color in there. There's also some beiges in there. So you could go something along this line for some colors.
Can you bring it over here again?
Yeah. Something like that. Good contrast. Your dark one in the background is going to make it, kind of give it more depth, kind of let it pop. So you could go like that. And we'll put some kind of a brown frame on it. I'm just going to grab one that I think kind of works with it. I'm going to go a bigger one just so you can see it better. Something like that. It all works. Or let's go completely gray. And you'll see that it looks, it even makes the piece look different. I've had lots of people come into me and say, like a lot of the artwork that we have on the wall with limited edition prints, they'll go, oh, I've got that piece, but mine's bigger. And it's not because we print them the exact same size every time. So they think that theirs is bigger because of the colors that we've done. It does sometimes make your piece look bigger or a little closed in or smaller. So I'm just going to show you the difference. We'll put that up. Let's go grays. You notice I keep looking back at the piece, because I want to see what colors I can pull out. Let's just go a lighter gray for a minute. It will completely change the look of this piece. If you notice, that gives it, I'm going to pull this bigger just so you can see it from there. Can you see that from there?
Oh, Brandon.
And then if you put a black frame on it or something along that line, even I'm going to go with the same frame, but it's in a charcoal. Something like this. It's got a bit of a brown to it. I don't know if I care. Yeah. That changes the piece completely when you see this to this. You've got one that's a bit warmer, one that's a bit cooler. That's my thoughts on framing, on this type of framing. Now, let's talk about acid-free. Why that's important, and I'm going to take you to the back where I frame and show you a few samples. But you know how all your frames are, I can't reach it, but like pointing up there, your bevels. Whenever time you've got a mat, it's got bevels in it. They're cut and they're usually white. Those should always, always stay white. Go around your house and look at all your pieces. If there's any that are yellowed, it means that they did not get framed with an acid-free mat. And if you notice, while you're looking at these with, say, in a store, at another place, flip it over, because it should, first off, there's only like about, I don't know, maybe, I'm gonna guess, 6, 7 companies that make mats. And they all have different types. But if you put as mine, I don't do any paper mats. And they will say paper mats sometimes. I'm gonna just look for a different company, just so I can pull something out here. This is a Crescent, that's a pretty, and this is a Peterborough, different company, different mat that makes these. But they both say conservation mat board, or conservation, something along that line, conservation. That means that these are acid-free. So when you're framing at a store, just kind of flip them over and take a look at the back. It should say conservation. If it doesn't, question it. Because that means you're not getting, first off, you're not getting the best, and really, it's only a few dollars difference for the framer to buy an acid-free mat as opposed to a paper mat. Okay? So be fussy on that point, because you're going to have this for a long time. And if it's a piece of artwork, it doesn't matter if your kid did it. What if you want to pass that down? You know, what did his or her, children, and it gets passed down. You want to preserve it, so that's very important for that. I'm just going to, something that bugs me, I just saw this, PPFA. It means Professional Picture Framers Association. Don't get fooled by that. It just means, and a lot of places buy into this, and it's kind of like an organization, and they get the sticker for their door that says that they're a professional picture framer, and they belong to the Professional Picture Framers Association. Not always true. You really, when you're going to frame with somebody, you need get a recommendation. See if somebody's framed with them, if they're happy with it, like that sort of thing. Because honestly, this really bothers me. And we went to them, and they've been out for years, 40 years maybe, 30 years, and we bought into their program. It's like a yearly membership, and you get the sticker for your door. It means nothing, because our argument with them was, you don't police whether that person, the next framer down the street, frames professionally. Does he use archival mats? He or she? Do they use archival backboard? There's nothing that, other than their word, that, yeah, they do it. But yet they've got this sticker on their door, and trust me, I know a lot of people with this sticker on the door that do not frame in archival frame. So, that's my pet peeve. I could get in trouble for that. I don't care. I'm telling you as a customer, watch out for certain things. Okay, we're going to go to the back where I frame, because I want to show you a few things. You good with that, Hallie?
Yep.
All right.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. Let's go. Oh, I'm going to take this print, because we're going to be using it. Be careful how you carry prints. You don't want to kink them. I'll wait till Hallie gets set up and then we're ready to go.
You're good.
We're good?
Yes.
Okay. I thought we'd have a little bit of fun today. I went over to the Salvation Army and grabbed a couple of frames, just because let's take them apart and see And I'm gonna say what not to do when you've had somebody frame your piece, or what to look for. So, I bought a couple of these. That's a little framed piece. This is some kind of a document. We're gonna take them apart and just sort of see how they got framed. So, my first thing is, we'll do this one first. I'll put this one aside. Just curious myself. This is a real no-no in framing. If you've got a frame that's got these on, get them off, because a lot of times, I'm gonna see if I can do this. You want your piece to fall off the wall, that's gonna surely happen. Your wood gets old and starts to dry. And when it does, a lot of times these can be pulled out super easy. So, most people do this nowadays too, but there still are some. You want a good piece that's gonna screw in, we'll show you that after. But you want actual pieces that you're gonna put your wire on. Like I said, that's a no-no. We're gonna take this off, this is really interesting. And I'm just gonna cut around the knife. Let's see how this is framed. Ooh, okay. This is an old piece, I can tell by these staples. Cool. First off, that's cardboard, which is really tough on your pieces. And this is old, I'm gonna say. Like really acid-free, even paper. First, let me back up. What's acid-free? It's paper we always think of with pulping it, wood pulp. An acid-free paper, it's got to do with the chemicals. The real, like old papers were usually cotton rag. Paper's been around for 2,000 years. First paper was made, that's how long ago, and it was made from cotton, linen, like rags. And it was actually by the Chinese so that they could document their history. That's how it started. In the art world, you'll want acid-free. And most of the papers today are acid-free, but like I said, the backings and those are important, what goes against your mats, or I'm sorry, your artwork. Because if it's not acid-free, let me show you something. This is what happens. Can you see that? Believe it or not, this is from an old print, and I kept this because it's so interesting. This all used to be this color. And this part here, see this color? That's what happens to the piece that it's on. It soaks up the acid that's in this piece, and it damages your print. So it would get discolored. Even the white that's, like sometimes your print has white around it. I'm just gonna, I don't know if you can see this because it's shiny, but see how it's got white around it? Should stay white. And like I said, nowadays the way that it's done, you know, if somebody that's an artist is going to make sure and print on an acid-free piece of paper. So this, if this went around, I'm just going to show you something. If this went around like this, just say that this was a piece of, and this is sitting, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if that's sitting like that, then right where the mats are is going to be yellow, all yellow, when I take that off. So it's damaged your artwork, or your photo. Here's an old photo. And you can see the edges that was sitting, obviously it didn't have a mat on it when I took it off. It's an old photo, very old. But where it was sitting, even against the wood, that's the acid that goes into it. I don't know if you can see that. See the brown around the edges? That's acid. So you want to preserve those things. And that's why you need to know who you're framing with. And trust is a big factor, because somebody can say, yeah, I do it. But that's why I say, shop around, get some names, know who's framing your pieces. If it's just a photo, something along that line, don't worry about it. But if it's something you really do want to preserve, worry about it. So let's just take this off, I'm just curious. Yeah, it's like you can't see it on this, it's too hard, but it's yellowed. This was probably a white piece of paper at one time. So that's that. Let's just do this one and see what happens with it. I'm curious. This is another thing you don't want on your piece. These pop out after a while. You want wire across it that's going to hang it. So let's just take this off. This hasn't even done, I can tell them. Supposedly professional. And this, the minute I see this, that's bad. You do not want to see cardboard in the back of your piece. This happens a lot, especially if I reframe an old piece for somebody. Yeah, bad. Bad. Let me just get this out of here quick. I'm not worried about whether I wreck it or not. Ooh, this feels like it's glued in. Thanks, Alex. This one almost seems mass-produced to me, just because of these staples. Most framers don't use these types of staples. And if somebody says to you, oh, I can frame that for you, save a few dollars, pass, seriously. There's so much that goes into picture framing. And it takes years of experience. I'm training somebody right now, and it's going to take, she couldn't get over, like her brain hurt at the end of the day, because there's so much information. And that was just one small section that I was training her on. Why? Probably should have had these staples out of there, but wouldn't be able to take it apart. Another thing too, don't go buying old frames. From the flea markets and things, and think that they're, you know, some of them are beautiful, but they're horrible to deal with. Usually they're old and brittle, and they break, and they're really, first off, to even try and find a piece that's going to fit in that particular one is next to nil, because you always frame from the inside to the outside. Your frame is the last thing you make, measurement-wise. So trying to find something that's going to fit that. And they're usually brittle, and they break in my hands. I have a feeling this was glued in or something. Okay, there. I'm going to take this out, and it fell out. The piece has fallen out. So, that is exactly what I wanted to see. A lot of pieces. This is the way that they've got it in there with some kind of masking tape. And you can see how yellow that is. That's acid. This isn't a limited edition print or anything, so it's really not worth anything. But if it was, I've seen many times where they've done limited edition prints and just taped them in like that. And I'll tell you in a bit why you don't do that. So, I want to show you this. Look for, I wish this mat was just pure white because you'd see it, but look for this. Can you see that bevel?
Mm-hmm.
When we cut mats, this should be white. And if any of yours are yellow, it means they're not acid free. So if you've got artwork that is important to you, get it out of that frame because it usually means whatever it's sitting on isn't acid free, and it's going to yellow your piece and make it worthless, really. So I can't stress enough. Get it out of that piece. Make sure that everybody's using archival when they frame. Let's go on to there. Let's go on to this piece and start framing. Okay. Just put my tools away. I always like to put my tools away. Okay. I cut my mats already, cut my boards this sort of thing, but here's the piece that we were framing, all right? We are framing it for our customer. I'm sure about this one, I'll know in a minute. Anyway, this is an acid-free board. There, you can buy different types. Again, some framers buy the cheaper brand, because it is cheaper. Saves them money. They make a little more off of it. But if you can see the back of your print, sometimes there's a paper over the back of it. If it's ripped or whatever, just take a peek. See if if it has a smooth finish on it, it's not acid free. If it's got kind of a matte finish, you can sort of feel the texture, not a lot, but I mean, we all know the difference between smooth, that's smooth, and this has got a bit of a matte finish. If it's a matte finish, it usually means it's acid free. If it's got a shiny, kind of a smooth finish to it, they've cheapened the product and they've gone and got something that's not acid free. Let's talk a little bit for my papers nowadays are pretty much, even photocopy paper I found are acid free. A lot of them are. And I think probably because maybe the environment, the chemicals they're using, that sort of thing. There was a time though, and it wasn't until the 80s that it became a standard, 84. It became a standard that, like the Library of Congress, that sort of thing, that they used, they made acid free like a standard thing because they wanted documents to last. Something that's acid free can last 1,000 years or more. The old papers, you know how newspaper yellows, or even the edges of books, you see the yellow? That's because the air has gotten added and changed the molecules in the paper, and it's called burn. They burn the paper. So I'm just going to show you something. I'm going to try and find something that's not acid free. But this is just photocopy paper with a little note on it that Hallie would be here at 1:30. Yeah. And if this turns purple, it's like kind of like when you do your pool. If you've ever had a pool where you got to put the chemicals in and you got to, shake that little thing and see if it's yellow or purple. Same sort of deal. This is just a photocopy paper. It's pretty much acid free. But you'll find anything old. Okay, this is one of Ron's art papers, and I use for scrap paper. See how dark that is? That's acid free. And it's the pH in the paper that you can tell if it's acid free or not. It's kind of interesting. I keep one of these around because I have customers that will come in and go, is this any good? Can you check this for me? So I keep one of them around. All right. So, cut this to fit, I'm trying to think where I should back up to. My mat, I cut my mat, but obviously I've got a computerized mat cutter. We used to do them by hand, but you gotta figure out your dimensions. You don't have to worry about any of that. That's why you take it to a professional. Anyway, and I cut my backing board. This is called the backing board, because you want this on the back of your print. You never glue or tape your print on. It really, there's a couple different ways that framers will put it on. A lot of them is called hinging. And hinging means sometimes you take a special tape. I've got it here. Sometimes they're made of a rice paper. Like, they're not really paper, although they're called that. These are archival. It's tape. This brand has been around, I bet you I don't know, it's been around a long time. Anyway, you hinge the top of your pieces. Say you go, I'm just kind of say, because I'd have to set it in here. You put a piece of there, and then you tape it down to your board. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, that's not a bad thing, but this is a big piece, so I don't like to do it that way. But I've had a lot of people bring me in limited edition pieces that maybe they got back in the 70s or 80s or 90s, and it has slipped. Like, it's in their glass and it has slipped and you can see it. Yeah, that happens a lot, and they think that it's a bad thing, and to me that's not a bad thing. It means that it was done right, because these do let go after. You can see that it's not the stickiest thing. Yes, I've been using it, but they do let go after so many years. I find they do. Sometimes they don't always, but they do. And I've even had a few of our own come in once in a blue moon, because they do. It's just they're wanting it to be archival, which means somebody should go into that piece, take it apart, and it should be like this the day that it was made, and no glue on it, no tape on it. So again, this isn't a bad thing, using this tape. It's not bad at all. I just have other ways, and there's different ways. I put corners on mine, because then they sit in the corners, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we've got the mat. It's already cut. We've got your backing board, and I'm going to just center this properly. This takes a good eye and a lot of experience to make sure you've got it exactly around your piece. And I take my time with this part. Okay. Everybody's got their own little techniques too. I'm just the way I hold it in or hold it down. Excuse me. I just gotta grab a drink of water. Excuse me. Okay. Talking too much. All right. So, put it down the way I want it. Got it centered. I'm gonna put some. These are a special thing that a lot of framers use. They're fabulous. You can throw them on a piece of artwork. They do not scratch. They just don't. They don't leave any mark at all. They're a leather. They're probably about $80 for these four. They are. Okay, so I've got the piece where I want it. It's not going to move. I've got 4 corners. You can buy corners too from the manufacturer, from your supplier, and they're like a clear. I think I've got little ones here. Do I? Like, you know, like your photo frame, these are really little. Like your photo frame that's got a clear thing that goes in there. You can buy those. I actually make mine, and I make mine, you just saw the acid-free paper, I actually make mine out of acid-free paper. And they stick really good, because it's a two-sided tape, acid-free, comes from the manufacturer. And I tape these corners underneath and slip the print in it. And your print at that point is just sitting on all four corners. I'm just going to slide that in there. Hope nobody's bored to tears by now. Make sure your hands are always clean. Mine are always dry too, because I deal with so much paper. I won't put lotion on at all in the morning when I come to work. You constantly are washing your hands. It's hard to wear gloves with stuff like this, just because you just can't pick things up properly. I've tried all kinds of different gloves, the white gloves. I mean, there's been times though when I framed certain things, like it's alright, and I kind of, you know, use my fingernails in the corners, and that's fine. I mean, I have framed I did frame a Rembrandt etching that I was really proud of. I wore gloves the whole time on that one. I don't care if it took me the day to do it, to pick it up. Yeah, we framed a lot of beautiful, beautiful things. It's a great business. It's been a lot of fun. And what a privilege to be able to frame something like that. Here and make sure that I've got it all right. And that's not going to fall out of there. That's what's so neat about it. It's in those four corners, and that's it. That's all that's holding this piece up. There's no glue, there's no tape, nothing. So your piece, it's archival. So we take these off. Use this special tape around it. And this stuff is sticky. And I have a press also that I will sometimes put it in if I think it needs it. That's usually pretty good. And I give everything a good brush. I'm careful when I do the print though. Okay. Then I'm just going to set this over here, and I'm going to get the glass, and we're going to put the glass on it and get it together. That's it there. Pretty nice. All right, gloves. I need gloves for glass. I don't like handling it with my hands. I've cut myself way too many times. Okay. We should talk about glass too. There's different types of glass. Get some staples off the table. Okay. Glass is this is just an art glass, but it comes, they always say it comes washed and cleaned, which it does. If I really wanted to, I could put it right on the piece after I dust it. Because I've had my gloves on, and then sometimes you have to oil the machines, and you might have a touch of oil on your fingers. I always clean it off. But let's talk a bit about glass. We've got different types of glass. Can you see, this is what I'm putting on. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is pretty much what I'm putting on, but there's different, but sometimes you won't know. This is a normal glass. It really doesn't have a major UV rating. If this is getting hung, say, in a family room, a basement, that sort of thing, where you don't have to worry about any kind of UVs, this is fine. Some people want, I've got another piece. I don't know if you can see the difference. I just framed this for somebody. I don't know if you can see the difference, but this has this preservation glass on it. Is there a glare at all?
Barely.
Yeah, that's because this person paid to make sure that this is an original pastel. Beautiful. Again, this was one of the ones that he was a friend of Casson, group of 7. They were best friends. Anyway, I'm framing a lot of these. They're originals. Value-wise, I don't know what they'd be worth, but he paid to have this just because it's that valuable a piece. You want to protect it. Any kind of UVs. I use fluorescent lights here because I can see better, and I'm not worried about the artwork doesn't sit here forever. They're the worst on artwork. They actually have UV in it. But if sunlight comes into your room or anything along that line, you want to take that into consideration. Yes, it's extra, but if you want to kind of weigh the pros and cons, how long do you want this piece? Do you want to pass it down? You know, so there's certain things to protect it. So these are the different glasses. There's probably about 3 different. There's this type, there's one that's 72%, and there's one that's 92 and or 99% UV rated. It really is archival. They can't call it museum quality because, it's not perfect. So they call it a conservation or preservation. You'll hear different words. It all kind of means the same thing. But there's sunglasses that, like that piece, that pretty much don't let any of the UVs hit your piece. When UVs hit your piece, especially if it's an older print, it will discolor it. Just like the sun discolors your skin. So it's going to happen to your artwork. So we'll just get clean in this. The cloths that we use here to clean glass, they're special. They're low lint, they call them, because you don't want lint sticking in, especially the winter time. It's so staticky. There's so much static in the air, just even in this room. It's funny how much just sucks into this piece. Okay. Now I flip it over, so I want to take a good look, see if there's any particles or lint or anything anywhere. This is usually a framer's best frame. I see a little spot that I don't like on the glass, and I think it's inside. Yes, it is. Especially around the edges. And then sometimes you've got to take it apart again because when you put the frame on it, it might have moved. And trust me, in the wintertime, I don't know, it's just like these little particles get sucked up in there. And if it's a Friday, they're going to do it. Fridays are always like that. Okay, let me get the frame. have long arms. So I can flip this over. Did you hear that little noise? That means I better check it again because the way the glass flipped in there, I'm just gonna put this in a little bit here and then flip it back over because I want to make sure we got no particles anywhere. Do I? What is that? Nope, that's outside. That's why you need good light when you're framing. So hard to tell sometimes. Nope, outside. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Now we secure this in here. Okay, now we're going to put the back on it for you. Always check to make sure which is the top and which is the bottom. That's always a good thing. And every framer does this part a little different. We just always make sure that the corners are not sharp or haven't chipped. And a lot of people put that brown paper on the back. We don't like it. It just, to me, it just doesn't look professional, classy. We spend a little more and buy the black paper. It just looks so much nicer. Okay, so then you can buy, like, we buy these different colors of, kind of, they're sort of like black magic markers. To touch up the corners, to do that sort of thing. So I've got one here. Because we use black a lot. And I will check that again when I the reason I put black here is just because we use black paper. And it looks nicer with the black paper rather than seeing that white. Can be a bit tricky if you don't have experience at it. It's getting the paper on something this large. Holly, I'm going to be right behind you to get that paper in a minute. We've got a big roll of paper. It's on a great big, I don't know what you call it. Dispenser. Now my staff, when they do it, they actually measure it. I eyeball it. I've been doing it for so long, I try and make sure. But once in a while, I cut it too short, so I gotta do another one. Looks easy. Perfect. trick to putting this on too, just so that you don't get wrinkles in it. Special tools for everything. And we've got a big bag here that we use to recycle. Like we recycle our paper. Okay. That's the top. That's the bottom. We have a certificate of authenticity here. Put that on a piece. Our sticker on the back because we're proud of what we do. We need some bumpers so that it doesn't scratch your wall. Some wire. We're almost done. I hope you're not too bored. Again, my staff usually puts a pencil mark or whatever. I've done it for so long. Wires rated for a certain pound. Okay. We've got different size wire for different weights of a piece. These are actually, there's a little trick, you kind of tie them on. Loop them under again so they do not come out. There's a tool for this to wrap them around neatly. You don't need it if you've done it this long. Done. I dropped my drill. And that is that. There's your piece all framed, ready to go. Archival. You just kind of clean it up, dust it off, and put it in a bag, and you're ready to take it home. And that's about it for today. That's kind of basic, how to frame a piece. You can see how long it takes to do a piece. And it takes even longer because I had a lot of this stuff prepped beforehand. You know, the mats, the glass, the frame I already had cut. It takes quite a bit to frame a piece. Jerseys probably take me a good couple days. So that's why I say don't try it yourself. Get a professional to do it. Okay, so I think that's about all I have. I don't know if anybody's got any questions.
Nope, we're good so far.
No, we're good? Okay. So thank you everybody for joining me. Hope I didn't bore you. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I hope it was okay. I didn't talk too much and was pretty informative. That's what I tried to be. So thanks, and we'll see you another time.